And welcome into the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM, online at WEGLFM.com, or you can watch it on Eagle Eye TV on Eagle Eye TV Channel 6 or at EagleEyeAuburn.com. We've coined that as the Eagle Eye and Weagle family of networks.
Weagle Eye.
Weagle Eye, as Floribama Shore would say.
Oh, good. Don't bring them up, please.
No, I will bring them up because Weagle and Eagle Eye did a nice little interview with the cast, or part of the cast, of Floribama Shore. So you can see that on Eagle Eye's YouTube page. Already has over 1,000 views. And also, if you go to MTV's Floribama Shore's Facebook page.
No, nothing. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't you click on that link.
They should go there because this little guy right here was ambushed at the door, and the answers he gave were hilarious.
I hated that interview. You could tell I hated it so much.
You may have hated it, but you know what we didn't hate? What happened this past Saturday. It was the Iron Bowl, and the Auburn Tigers came out with the win, 26-14. They rushed the field, fined $250,000, but it was worth it.
For Eagle, it was worth it.
Now, for the Bushes, that's a different story.
Those poor Bushes, they still hadn't fully healed from 2013.
They have not. And now Auburn is on their way to Atlanta to the SEC Championship game. And what more could you want out of a season than this? But from the Clemson game to the LSU game to the Georgia game to the Alabama game, what a roller coaster it's been. But we are where we are, and we're grateful for it. Just how we were this Thanksgiving break. We were grateful for a lot of things. And now the Extra Point is back. Hello, everybody. I'm Jared Dillard alongside Brooks Childress. That was a long intro.
That was a really long. I forgot that you didn't intro it.
No, I really didn't. But Brooks, we're back, and now, really, the first thing we can talk about is just the college football playoffs, because it's championship week. ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC are all games that feature teams that are ranked in the top 10. The Pac-12 is kind of an outlier. USC is currently number, I think, 11. All that's going to change tomorrow, obviously. But USC sitting on the outside, and Stanford's kind of back in the teens. But still, it should be a good game. Even the American matchup between UCF and Memphis will be a ranked matchup, ranked against ranked. So across the board, good games, no matter what. I think there's another one like Akron or something. Who cares? LeBron James. There you go. But
he doesn't care about Akron.
No, he doesn't.
I think what you're more to cater to the local audience. I think more importantly, it's Terry Bowden, former Auburn head football coach, is still the head football coach at Akron. So he's in a championship game. 2 Auburn head coaches are in championship games this weekend.
Hey, I mean, and that's how you do it right there. But let's start with the playoff scenarios. Okay, so if you haven't heard the news, Alabama lost, and so did Miami.
Hey, Jared, I just want to point out, did you know that Alabama lost this weekend?
I heard about that. I've also recently started perusing Reddit a lot for college football, because as cancerous as Reddit can be sometimes, they are usually the first ones where you can find breaking news articles. So, and we'll talk about this one in a little bit, but the whole Greg Schiano stuff with Tennessee, I found the articles about something was going to implode about 2 hours before it actually did. So I was perusing Reddit, and that'll be my word of the day. And the scenarios that they had laid out for college football was interesting. So obviously, if we lay it all out, if we just go ahead and lay it all out, Alabama and Clemson drop backwards. Okay, so who does that leave? It leaves Clemson. Clemson at number 1. It leaves Oklahoma at number 2. Then that's where the buck stopped. Because, okay, Clemson 1, Oklahoma 2. There's a little bit of argument that Oklahoma should be 1, Clemson 2, because Clemson has the worst loss, but Clemson does have the better body of work. They've beaten a couple more better teams than Oklahoma has, and that's neither here nor there. But once you get to number 3, there was a good number of people that said, Wisconsin, number 3, obviously undefeated, going to the Big 12 going to the Big 10 championship. And then there's another group of people that said, you know what? I know Auburn has 2 losses, but you kind of want to put them at 3 because they just beat 2 number 1 teams in 3 weeks. And if they beat Georgia again, which is going to be another probably top 5, matchup, if you beat 3 top 5 teams in 4 weeks, that means something. And that's more than Wisconsin's done, with their best win being Northwestern, who's currently sitting somewhere, probably sitting in the teens somewhere when this is all said and done. And that's going to be their best win. Unless they beat Ohio State, then that will be their best win. So then there's a little bit of confusion with that, Wisconsin and Auburn. But it's pretty much undoubtedly that those are the top 4. But here's the question that I want to start asking. The scenarios. What could happen this weekend? Okay? Because the moment I turn on ESPN this morning, I'm telling you, I get in, got 2 weeks left of school, I'm feeling sluggish. I turn on ESPN, and they are doing scenarios about how Alabama can still get into the college football playoff. It's not out there, but they're starting to do the multiple scenarios on who can get in and who can't. That's what we're going to start the show with. After that whole long monologue, let's start with that college football playoff scenarios. Do we think that there is a chance, an actual realistic chance, for Alabama to make its way in? And when we are realistic, I mean, if Miami were to beat Clemson, would they jump Miami? If Oklahoma was to lose to TCU, would TCU jump Alabama? Like, is there a possible chance, and should Alabama fans be worried that their team may be left out?
I think there's a worry either way for, people that don't want Alabama in, and for Alabama fans, because they're not a conference champion, and that is what they're not. Well, yeah, they're not going to be a conference champion, and that is what the committee has said they want to emphasize is conference champions. You got to win your conference. We want you to win your conference to be able to get into the playoff, and that's the one negative that's going against them. The positive is they only have 1 loss on the year, and it's to a very good Auburn team.
It's true. They probably have the best looking loss right now.
Now, it depends on how everyone is stacked up in this week's rankings. I think that the way it was last week with Auburn was 6th and Georgia was 7th. Was that correct?
Yes.
So they'll probably move Georgia back into the top 6 after they beat Georgia Tech. Auburn will probably be a top 4 team. So that means the SEC champion winner is going to be in.
I mean, by all logic, it looks like number 5 and number 6 will be Alabama and Georgia.
So Georgia, like I said, winner of the SEC is probably going, since they're both the top 6 team. Now, the thing is going to be, where do they drop Miami? Do they drop Miami to that 5th spot, or they drop them below Georgia into that 7th or 8th spot after that loss and just drop Alabama as far down
here's
as
the thing
5?
Here's the thing that hurts Miami is Georgia and Alabama have 1 loss, correct?
Correct.
And they're both to Auburn. And Auburn's probably a top 4 team. And you look at Miami, and they have 1 loss, and it's the Pitt. And that's what's going to hurt them. And you know what else also hurts them, and not a lot of people talk about it? Miami's also missing one more game. Remember, they couldn't play 1 game because of the hurricane. And whether that game would have mattered at this point now is irrelevant. It could have been 1 more good game to stack against your resume, to stack up your resume. But Miami doesn't get that. So they have their 10-1, and they're going to face the consequences that you lost to a Pitt team that you shouldn't have lost to. Go Pitt. The 2nd year in a row they've done it. But they have nothing to worry about. If they win, they should be in.
Yes, and, if the committee goes against, like if committee say Oklahoma say here's the scenario, Oklahoma wins, which is it's a very high likely that they win, even though it's hard to be the same team twice. They're in. SEC champion's in. Big Ten champion probably is in. If it's Wisconsin, they're definitely in. If it's Ohio State, that's a question mark
I don't know about Ohio State. That's going to be a hard one to sell. Because it was Penn State who was in this same situation who got left out that one year. Do you remember that?
Was it last year or 2 years ago?
One of those. A two-loss Penn State team won the championship and got left out because they had those 2 losses and it hurt them.
Yeah.
And this could be the same situation. Do you take a 2-loss Iowa State team over a 1-loss Alabama team? Like, how much does that Big Ten championship really mean?
You mean an Iowa team?
Huh?
You mean Iowa? You said Iowa State. Iowa State's in the Big 12.
I meant Ohio State.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know what just happened. Do you take a 2-loss Ohio State team over a 1-loss Alabama team?
If they're a conference champion, if the committee goes by what they have said they're going to emphasize, which is conference champions, like I said earlier, they want to put in conference champions.
Yeah.
If they are the conference champion, if the committee goes by, no, they're not necessarily have to go by what they've said in the past. That you could change.
But I mean, I was about to say they've already proven that they'll break away from what they've said.
Oh yeah, because they put in. Ohio State won the Big Ten that year. I was about to say they put Ohio State over a Big 12 champion, Baylor or TCU.
Oh yeah, the state of Texas went on fire, caught on fire that night.
But since they've established that they can go against it, it's more likely that a 1-loss Alabama team gets in over a 2-loss Big Ten champion Ohio State team. But if they want to stick with their precedent, they said we want you to win your conference. They put Ohio State in.
Yeah.
And either way, you get a name brand in there, which helps them. So you get a national brand. You get Ohio State or Alabama in there. It's a national brand.
The Nick Saban's press conference, did you see that? How he was saying that Alabama deserves consideration for the playoff?
Oh yeah, I mean,
and they should. Come on,
and that's good politicking for Nick Saban because your team just lost. That that hurt their chances tremendously, especially this late in the season. And it's good politicking to go out there and say, hey, they deserve a chance. They're a good team. They deserve a chance. But like the Belk Bowl tweeted Saturday night, they're still Belk Bowl eligible.
Hey, Alabama, the Belk Bowl is still up for grabs. I'm just telling you right now. That being said, let's switch over to let's keep talking about playoff scenarios because we only have about a couple minutes left. And this is a question that I want to get into. It's a very in-depth question, and we're not going to cover everything. But is there a reason? Is there a certain reason why Group of 5 teams should even care about the playoff at this point?
I think so.
Because UCF now, I understand UCF's undefeated. They haven't played the toughest schedule.
They're in the American Conference, right?
Yes, they are in the American.
That's not an easy conference.
It's not an easy conference.
Because you got Houston, you got Memphis, you got USF, you got Navy, who's always good. You got Cincinnati, who's an on and off team. So that's not a bad conference.
It's not comparable to the other ones.
It's not, it's not a Power 5 team. But if say in the future, it's obviously not going to happen this year, but say in the future you're a UCF and your first game is against a Power 5 opponent. They schedule those. So
yeah.
That'll be scheduled. So say you go in and you play a neutral site game against Michigan or an Oklahoma State or someone and you beat them. And that's a good win on your resume. And then you go through the American Conference, which is not an easy conference to go through. You could argue that some of the lower tiered Power 5 teams would not make it through that conference undefeated.
And this is why a lot of people ask for a playoff expansion, and we'll talk about that soon in a little bit, is because Group of 5 schools can't build programs consistently because their head coaches leave.
That's also very true because Scott Frost could be going to Nebraska.
For all intents and purposes, Scott Frost is gone already. Like, Nebraska is calling his name. It's his alma mater. Like, it makes sense. You may not like it for UCF because they literally they went 0-12 2 years ago, and look where they're at now. You hate it for them, but it makes sense for him.
Oh, yeah, to move up to a Power 5 school.
Yeah. But Nebraska may not be the most glamorous job, but it's one he cares about.
But, like, the group of 5 schools, if you schedule right, maybe not a Sun Belt team or someone like that. Maybe not. There's another one. It's Sun Belt.
I mean, there's the
American. There's
Mountain West.
Mountain West. Well, Mountain West is a decent conference. I'd say the weakest conference right now is the Sun Belt.
Hey, it's a fun belt. Thank you very much.
Because there's only maybe 1 or 2 teams that are competitive in there.
Troy.
Yes, Troy.
LSU, what?
Troy. Sometimes Georgia Southern, App State. But if you are a group of 5 school, and you schedule correctly, if you work a schedule around and you can get, you schedule a Power 5 team and you beat them and then you run the table, there's always the chance. Like Houston a few years ago, they got into a New Year's Six bowl. UCF's probably getting a New Year's Six bowl if they stay undefeated.
Oh, they definitely will. They'll be the highest ranked group of 5 school.
And so if you
remember, that's an automatic bid for them.
If you can get that, you're already into a group of New Year's Six bowl. If you can get a signature win over a Power 5 opponent, that could catapult that team into a playoff situation.
Well, for UCF, hold on, guys, because while 11-0 may be great in a conference championship, I don't know how long Scott Frost is sticking around. But I'll tell you who is sticking around. We are, because after this commercial break, we're going to talk about the implosion at Rocky Top. Greg Schiano, who was going to be the head coach of Tennessee, is not anymore, and there was a whole situation about it. You may have heard about it. But that and more here on the Extra Point on the Eagle Eye and Weagle family of networks.
Hey, Jared, did you hear that Alabama lost?
Maybe.
This is a place where it only takes a second to imagine your future. Grasp a new concept in class. Inspire a child's curiosity. Discover a real-world solution. Seize an unexpected opportunity.
There goes Davis!
This is where you gain the preparation, confidence, and determination to succeed. This is Auburn.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Welcome back to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM. Online at WEGLFM.com. You can also catch us on the Eagle Eye family of network and Eagle Eye TV Channel 6 or EagleEyeAuburn.com. You also catch us on SoundCloud at WEGL 91.1 FM. This show will be live on SoundCloud about 10 to 15 minutes after 2 o'clock. So about 2:10, 2:15, you can listen to us all again, because who doesn't like listening to us?
I like listening to myself. That's why I wear headphones. I'd like the thought of someone sitting there as soon as the show goes off with a timer and waiting on SoundCloud, just keeps refreshing and waiting for it.
Hey, we timed it ourselves, and we had it up in 11 minutes last time.
That's very true.
So, I'm just saying, we're pretty proficient at what we do. You know who's not proficient at what they do?
Not Coke Zero. not Coke Zero Sugar, Taste the Feeling. I'm gunning for a sponsorship.
Well, on that note, I don't even know where to go from there. Tennessee.
Back
there
to
we
your
go.
thoughts.
Tennessee. A lot of weird things happening around that program right now. Okay, so it started with the firing of #Champion of Life Butch Jones, and then Brady Hoke took over as interim head coach,
Which is never a good thing.
and
See him at Michigan? Woo.
and then a couple things happened. Tennessee lost to Vanderbilt, so Tennessee.
It was bad, too. What was that final
It was like
score?
42-28, I think.
It
wasn't close.
I didn't watch any of that game.
Hey, they had one good snack for a touchdown.
You know why I didn't watch any of that game?
Why?
Because I was too happy that Alabama lost. Did you hear that Alabama lost?
I did hear the Alabama loss. And then on top of that, so Tennessee was the only school in college football to not have an 8-loss season. That wasn't until Saturday. Tennessee ends the season with 8 losses, the first time they've done that in their history, which is surprising. I actually didn't know that stat. And then a meltdown started happening in Rocky Top. So
we need to be a little more prepared for the show and have like music uploaded in there so we can play Rocky Top while we talk about this.
oh no, that would just add insult to injury.
I mean, have you seen Tennessee? I don't think there's much more injury you could get.
Oh, there's a bunch more, believe me. So let's start with a timeline of what happened. So Tennessee loses, okay? They immediately begin their search. Obviously, there's talks about John Gruden. There's still talks about John Gruden. I read a report that, I think it was CBS Sports, that John Gruden's contract for Tennessee, if he wanted to go to Tennessee, would be in the $10 million annually range. That's a lot of money. I think John Gruden makes $15 million annually from ESPN. He's one of their highest paid employees.
Yeah.
So it's close, but it may not be the thing he's looking for. So then, on top of that, something else happened. Greg Schiano, the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, was in.
Let me fact check you real quick.
What?
John, I forgot his name. John Gruden makes $6.5 million annually from ESPN.
So he makes that much from ESPN. He must get money from somewhere else, because I know he makes a lot more than that.
Well, I mean, he does all these commercial deals. He's got the Corona deal where he sits and listens to people call him on a beach. You ever seen that commercial? That's a great commercial.
So John Gruden from ESPN themselves makes $6.5 million.
And that's to do what? 18 games a year, one playoff game, and then QB camp.
Hey,
I mean, I would do that.
I mean, don't you like John Gruden's quarterback camp?
You basically work like 25 weeks a year.
So John Gruden making bank, doing what he loves, I assume. Does he want to go back to coaching? Sure, but $10 million is a lot of money. I don't want to see that buyout. I don't think you try to buy out John Gruden at that point, but $10 million a year, that's no joke. And then on top of that, so then the Greg Schiano stuff started happening. All right. And so there's a lot of things swirling around the Greg Schiano stuff. And pretty much #Vols Twitter, which is the hashtag they use to just group together, the Tennessee faithful revolted about Greg Schiano. Like, it's a literal revolt. It's going to go down in the history books.
They immediately regretted making that decision to do #Vols Twitter.
And there were protests on campus. Now, that being said, let me dial down the scope of the word protest. It wasn't like there were thousands marching in the streets, okay?
They weren't burning couches or anything. This wasn't West Virginia.
Nothing caught on fire or stuff like that. There were probably 100, maybe 150 students protesting physically on campus. Where the most damage was done was Twitter. I think people underestimate how much damage the Twitter sphere actually did in that regard. Because while there was 150 students protesting, there were thousands and thousands of likes and retweets about getting rid of Greg Schiano and getting rid of their AD. That's where most of the damage was done.
I mean, obviously, because if you're sitting in the athletic department, you look outside, you go, oh, there's only like 150 people that don't like this. It moves forward. You turn on you pull up Twitter and everyone's saying, this is the worst hire in the world. Why are you doing this? Stop this now. You should be fired. Then you're like, oh, well, this may not be the best idea for us.
So a little bit about Greg Schiano. He was the head coach at Rutgers. He did a fabulous job at their program. Let's push the brakes there.
He
did a fabulous job for Rutgers.
Let's push the brakes there. I've got his career stats pulled up.
Okay. I want you to read out the career stats. We're obviously going to run over on this, so read them off. No, go ahead and read them off, and I'm going to totally obliterate you. Okay?
11 years he was at Rutgers.
Yes.
He was one game over 500 for his whole career. He was 68 and 67. His best year was 2006, an 11-2 record. That was his best year.
Good year.
And they went to the Texas Bowl. They didn't even go to a BCS Bowl. It was the Texas Bowl. They didn't go to any BCS Bowls because this was back in the BCS. He averaged around, if you average it out, because he had 2 wins his first year, 9 wins his last year, I'd say it was around 7 to 8 wins a year.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, it's good for the time that he was coaching there. And that's before the Nick Saban effect kicked in, which was around when he got fired. Was 2011 is when the Nick Saban effect
It wasn't even the Nick Saban effect. Like Rutgers.
He was 28.
No. It was Rutgers. Okay.
He was 28 and 48 in conference play.
This was a team. A lot of that 28 and 42 record comes from the first couple of years.
Rutgers only finished ranked once in his career there, and that was that 11-win year where they finished 12th.
Well, I don't care about where they finished in rankings. I care about what they were and then what they became under him. When he started, Rutgers went to, I think, 4 or 5 bowl games in their lifetime. And Rutgers has been around since the 1800s, and they went to 4 or 5 bowl games before 2001. He gets there, and yes, it's not a good start at all. They're a cellar dweller, as some people would say, in the Big Ten. Okay? And
this was in the Big East Conference, by the way.
That's right. It was the Big East.
They didn't join Big Ten till after he had left.
This is the Big East. So they were a cellar dweller in the Big East,
which was a good conference.
He slowly built them up to where he won. He was over 500. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 7 last years. Not counting 2010, because that was the mulligan.
6 out of the 10 years he was there.
But 6 out of the last 7, they were above 500.
Not in and overall, yes, but not in conference.
And then, your computer's about to die.
Yep,
that's funny.
Well,
and then he led them to 5 straight bowl game victories. Rutgers had been to 5 in their lifetime, and he led them to. He lost the first one, but then he after that led them to 5 straight bowl victories. 2010, obviously they didn't go because they weren't doing good. But for Rutgers in itself, he did a fabulous job at Rutgers.
I wouldn't say fabulous. He did a average job at Rutgers.
No, for Rutgers to double the amount of bowls that you've been to. And he set the record for bowl wins at Rutgers as a head coach. At Rutgers, he did a fabulous job.
But he was also, all those years that he went to a bowl game, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He went to 6 bowl games.
Yeah.
1, 2 of the 6, 2, 3, 4.
Math is hard.
4 of the 6. He was either 1 win over 500 or below 500 in conference play.
But either way, he got them to where they couldn't be. Even if it was easy to get to 6 or 7 wins, they could not do that very much without him. And where have they been since?
They've
cellar dweller.
That's true. They're not. Rutgers has never been. Well, I don't. I'd say never. I don't know.
We're talking history. Apples and oranges here. It's Rutgers we're talking about.
Anyway,
in their scope, he did well.
He is a decent. He's a good coordinator. He's a good. He's a good coordinator. He's done a great job at Ohio State as the defense coordinator. As a head coach, he's not head coaching material for a program like Tennessee that wants to take them to the next level and go, be competitive in the Southeastern Conference.
We argue way too much.
But it makes for good TV.
It makes for good TV. Now, we'll come back and we'll talk about this because this is way from over. Update, Urban Meyer says that JT Barrett is questionable for the Big Ten game. Whoa. That's also something we got to talk about. Illuminati may be out to get JT Barrett, my friend.
I think it's just the media.
I see what you did there. You listen to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM, or online at WEGLFM.com. Or if you're watching on Tuesday, you're watching it on Eagle Eye TV Channel 6 or EagleEyeAuburn.com. Stick around. We'll come back. We'll talk more about Greg Schiano, the stuff going on at Rocky Top. We'll talk Ohio State and JT Barrett and much more.
Quick note, Tennessee may have lost this weekend in coaching. You know who else lost this weekend?
Who?
Alabama.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Hi, Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be tornado next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So.
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
And welcome back to the Extra Point here on WEGL 91.1 FM. I'm not going to say all the other stuff because I've said it like 8 times. Follow him on Twitter right below him at TherrellBrooksC, and then me at Jared_Dillard. For more, I don't really even tweet anything. You can follow Brooks. He just likes everything on Twitter.
I do not.
Yes, you do.
I do not. I have cut down on what I like on Twitter.
Or third option, you can follow us at the Extra_Point on Twitter. He just retweets everything. You have a real problem. You either on your main account like everything, or on our show account retweet everything.
I don't read. I mean, I quote tweet a lot. I quote tweet a lot. That's what I do.
The moment you said, well, I mean, you messed up.
I quote tweet a lot. That's what I do.
You got the Twitter pulled up right now.
I do. I'm scanning the Twitterverse. I quote tweet a lot. We don't have an extensive media, we don't have an extensive sports department here, that social media and department that can go out and get these stories for us. We've got to do what we can. I quote tweet a lot.
Okay, so let's do what we can. Let's talk about Greg Schiano. Let's drop Rutgers for a second, okay? Whatever he did, whatever he did at Rutgers. Okay. He did well at Rutgers. He went to the NFL. He was a head coach at Tampa Bay Buccaneers for what, 2 seasons?
2 years. He was 11-21.
That's for par for the Buccaneers these days.
Finished last in the NFC South both years.
Didn't do very well. Unofficially, there were reports that he wasn't the most favorite coach down in Tampa Bay, that he kind of treated his players unfairly. All that, putting all that on the table, Should Tennessee have tried to hire him? Maybe. Maybe not. There's different scenarios. He's now the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. We've seen how Ohio State defenses are. He wouldn't have been my first choice, considering what's going on with Ohio State. Ohio State never had like a shut down defense.
No, I don't think he should have been first choice for. I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator.
I mean, let's be honest. He wasn't the first choice because there were murmurs that Tennessee wanted Dan Mullen. So Dan Mullen was choice B. Gruden was obviously A. Shiano may have been like D or E.
He was a good defensive coordinator at Miami in the late 90s, early 2000s when he was there. And he's been a decent defensive coordinator at Ohio State.
He's been decent. He's not a grand slam.
No, he's not a
he's not the sexy hire that they wanted.
No. But Greg Schiano is, if you're at Tennessee, Greg Schiano, I don't think is the coach you needed or you wanted for this program.
No.
Because, for one of all, it's not a flashy hire, which not all coach hirings have to be flashy hires, but it helps, especially in a program like this that has been down and everyone wanted a change, everyone was protesting, fire Butch Jones, empty Needland. They tried to get no one to go to a game, and then as soon as they fire Butch Jones, everyone's like hashtag Phil Nealon, trying to get everyone to Nealon.
The question becomes, where on the list is Les Miles?
I was thinking about that this morning.
Where on the list is Kevin Sumlin? I know what he did at Texas A&M, but Tennessee, after this year, you should take 7 to 8 wins a year and be happy with it after what happened, this year.
But the thing about it is, you don't want to do that. As long as there's one man in this conference, Nick Saban, you don't want to be an 8-win team.
I mean, it's true.
Because
they're also in the East.
And also now you've got Kirby Smart, who's
the only coach that has won at their school but failed in the East is Jim McElwain, who went to back-to-back SEC championship games but got stomped by Nick Saban. And if he just would have won this year, he would still be there. If Florida didn't have the year they had, he would still be there.
And Jim McElwain, I think, more got fired because they wanted a reason to fire him, and he gave it to them when he said, "Oh, I got death threats. My family received death threats," and that proved to be a lie. So that's one of the main reasons he was fired, because he got death threats. I mean, they were looking for another reason to fire him.
They were looking.
Jim McElwain's not a bad football coach. He's going to get another head coaching job somewhere. He wasn't a bad football coach.
I mean, Jim McElwain is another person to throw into the Tennessee race. I don't think it will be a good hire for Tennessee.
Do you know, I was doing this yesterday because I knew we were going to be, I'm like, there's no way we're not talking about, even though we're not, always the most prepared people on radio.
Oh, no, we're not.
I went and looked around at the coaching openings, and I looked at who I thought could be a good person to put in that spot. And this isn't going to be one name that I saw that it really stuck with me. I'm like, that would be an interesting hire. It's not a sexy hire. It's not a hire that's a flashy hire. But it's a hire that I think can get the job done. It's at Tennessee hired Pat Narduzzi from Pittsburgh. He's a good football coach. He's not getting all the results that, you want at Pittsburgh, but then again, Pittsburgh's not a team that's...
It's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's not a team that's going to be challenging for the for the conference championship every year. You got to recruit to Pittsburgh. There's not a lot of money behind that. More people are interested in the Steelers than the Panthers. They can't fill that stadium. I think if Pat Narduzzi's a great... I love him as a football coach. He has proven that he can win big games. He can outcoach some of the best minds in college football, Dabo Swinney, Mark Richt. He can outcoach them and beat them. If he were to go to a program like a Tennessee that's got money behind it, that can recruit, because you can get people to go to Tennessee. If you come and you say, hey, you want to come play football in Pittsburgh, people are like, eh.
Oh, where's the university located at?
Yeah. You're like, where's the university? I know where the stadium is. And you can recruit to Tennessee. You got money behind Tennessee. Tennessee's a traditional power. Tennessee could be considered a brand, not a national, name brand like an Alabama or an Ohio State or a Michigan or a USC, but they're still a brand.
Yeah.
I think he would be a good hire.
So
he's one of those guys that's a good coach and flies under the radar.
So this is where it all spiraled out of control in the Tennessee situation. Everything I'm about to say, I'm gonna be very careful with it. Okay. The reason and the biggest flashpoint in the Tennessee stuff is that Greg Schiano was at Penn State when the whole Jerry Sandusky stuff was going on. And in an unsealed court document in 2016, a witness testified that he ran into Greg Schiano one morning and said that he was as white as a ghost. Quote, he was as white as a ghost because he saw Jerry doing something to a kid. That's the only substance from that allegation. That's what it is. It is the allegation. There is no concrete proof other than his word from the unsealed court document that any of this happened. But it is what has been entrenched into what people are calling the post-Harvey Weinstein era, where even if there's a slightest hint that it could be true, you don't want it around your program. So there is no concrete evidence. There's nothing to prove that Schiano covered anything up. There's no proof that he knew about anything. But the one testimony that in itself torpedoed the whole negotiation. And when Twitter took it and ran with it, it created even more of a mess, and people got even more upset. And that's where everything stemmed from. You looked at Rutgers, you look at the Buccaneers, you look at Ohio State, good, bad, whatever. It was the Penn State stuff that messed with everything else. Whether that was right, whether that was wrong, whether there's morality tied to it, all of that can be debated. But if there's one guarantee about any of this mess, it's the Penn State stuff caused it. And that in itself could make Tennessee, in the way that the situation went, it could make it hard for Tennessee to land a coach. Because in a way, if your students don't approve, then it may be a little bit hard.
Wait,
all that being said, it may have just been the situation.
And I don't think you as an athletic director at Tennessee, or you as, an athletic director anywhere, you have to make the hire that you think is best for the program. A few years ago, Auburn did the same thing. They hired Gene Chizik from Iowa State. Now, Gene Chizik wasn't a flashy hire. He wasn't, he didn't win at Iowa State. He wasn't he didn't bring Iowa State to glory or anything. He wasn't an up-and-coming coach. But Auburn made the hire for Gene Chizik. And he won Auburn a national championship. Now, it went downhill quickly after that.
Oh, it went downhill so quickly. We don't talk about 2012.
But he built the program.
Dark times.
Or he took the program that Tommy Tuberville left and took it one level up from Tommy Tuberville, from an 8 to 10-win team, to an undefeated season, win a national championship, and then you win bowl games, and then it fell off. But not the flashy hire, the up and coming coach is not always the hire you need for that program. Sometimes you just need stability. And that's why I said Pat Narduzzi, because he's not going to be a flashy hire. He's not going to he's not going to come in and excite everyone and say, hey, we're going to win national championships all the time. He's going to come in and he's going to coach a football team. And I think he can take Tennessee from where Butch Jones had it. At best, was an 8-win team when his best year, 8-9-win team.
What was last year? I mean, that was the year that they couldn't lose for no matter what reason.
I don't remember I think they were like 8 or 9 wins.
Probably.
And I think he can take them up to another level to compete for the SEC East.
Well, and I hate to compare it to this because it just brings two political situations together. But the Greg Schiano fiasco and why they don't want to hire him, it's because anybody who was at Penn State was kind of tainted by what happened. Now, some people got off scot-free, and I hate to say scot-free because it sounds like they did something immoral. And, you know, a lot of people didn't know what was going on. A lot of people got away unscathed by the allegations. Some in jail, Sandusky. Others were pretty much shunned, Paterno. Schiano was one of those people that kind of got away, but it still kind of followed him. And there's some other coaches out there. They were at Penn State. It's kind of following them, but it's not destroying or messing with their career. But then it comes down to, is it just too much of a distraction at Tennessee? Apparently, it was enough to get fans riled up, to then reportedly get boosters riled up, and to start demanding the fire of the AD, John Curry. It was apparently enough for that. And the situation that I want to compare it to is almost like Colin Kaepernick. It was, whether he was good or not did not really matter. In the end, the distraction was too much. So you're not going to sign him. And that's neither here nor there, but it's kind of the same situation. Whether Schiano was going to be good or not didn't really matter. The distraction itself, the loss in revenue itself, was the reason why you didn't make that move.
I don't think the hire was good anyway. Even if it wasn't... I
don't think it was the best hire.
Even if Schiano was not involved in anything with Penn State, I don't think he's the right fit for that Tennessee job.
No, I mean, I don't either. But look, we'll take a break. We'll be back in 60 seconds. And when we come back, we will finally start talking about these conference championship games that are coming up. You can listen to the Xtra Point here on WGL 91.1 FM or online at WGLFM.com. I also want to point out that, hey, if Tennessee needs somebody, I heard Butch Jones still available.
Oh, no. Hey, Jared, did you know that Alabama lost this weekend, too?
I think I may have heard. I cut my own mic off. I think I may have heard about that.
I believe this is a practical world and that I can count only on what I earn. Therefore, I believe in work, hard work.
I believe in education, which gives me the knowledge to work wisely and trains my mind and my hands to work skillfully.
I believe in honesty and truthfulness, without which I cannot win the respect and confidence of my fellow men.
I believe in a sound mind, in a sound body, in a spirit that is not afraid, and in a clean sport that develops these qualities.
I believe in obedience to the law because it protects the rights of all. I believe in human touch, which cultivates sympathy with my fellow men and mutual helpfulness and brings happiness for all.
I believe in my country because it is a land of freedom and because it is my home, and that I can best serve that country by doing justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with my God.
And because Auburn men and women believe in these things, I believe in Auburn and love it.
And welcome back to the Extra Point in our final minutes of the show. Jared Dillard, Brooks Childress with you.
It seems like we just got back.
It really does.
And a nice Thanksgiving break.
Conference championship games. They're over here on my laptop, and if you don't know, my laptop is huge, so I gotta kind of, you know what? No.
I'm gonna move it right in the middle.
There we go. I'm gonna just fold it down.
When you do that,
Can I just hold it like this? I just move the keyboard out the way.
I think your arm would get tired. When you like hold it against yourself like you look like you're some sort of waiter.
Let's not go down this road. Anyway, so in the AAC, to the American Athletic Conference, it is the Memphis UCF game. That is at 12 All these times are Eastern Standard Time.
That's a game that features two guys that could be getting better head coaching jobs. Obviously, Scott Frost is rumored around that Nebraska job since it's his alma mater. But Mike Norville from Memphis is a really good head coach. I heard him when they had a coaching clinic here last year I went to, and he was one of the speakers. I really liked when he spoke. I really liked the way he talked about how he ran his program. I think if not this year, next year, he's going to be on a track for a bigger head coaching job than Memphis.
Now, that being said, I skipped the Friday game. It's USC Stanford on Friday.
No one cares.
Well, it's still a good game.
That's a game to determine what's the Pac-12's representative in the New Year's Six Bowl.
It's still a good game.
I mean, it's technically a rivalry.
Here's a game nobody cares about. North Texas versus... Oh, no.
Everyone cares about this
FAU
game.
because it's Lane Kiffin.
Everyone's going to watch this game.
Conference USA game is also at 12 on ESPN2. The Memphis game's on ABC. Okay, here we go. At 12 on ESPN, the MAC game, Akron and Toledo.
Let's go
Nobody
Rockets.
cares about that game.
Have I told you I've watched a Toledo Rockets football game?
That's
like
fine.
in person.
Why? Wait, no, now it's not fine. Why?
They were in the, I think it was back when it was the GoDaddy.com Bowl. They were in Mobile for a bowl game. I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You live down there. That's fine.
And I went down there. There's some guy with that's painted an ambulance up like with Toledo logos and everything on it, and he's changed the lights out because their colors are navy blue and gold. And so instead of red and white flashing, it's blue and gold flashing lights.
And then 12:30 on Fox, number 4, or these are all old rankings, but Oklahoma taking on TCU. Then 4 p.m. on CBS, Georgia, Auburn. I heard that's going to be a good game.
I believe all these times are Eastern, aren't they?
Yeah, they are Eastern. And then 4:30, it's the SWAC.
That's the one I'm waiting for.
Alcorn State versus Grambling State.
Ooh, what channel is that on? Is that ESPNU?
Yeah, it is.
Dude, I'm going to be in Atlanta watching that Auburn game, but I'm going to have my phone up watching that SWAC game.
And then the Mountain West, Boise State and Fresno State at 7:45. Fresno's ranked in the AP poll, which apparently is the first time they've been ranked in their history.
That's impressive.
That's impressive.
Especially since they had Derek Carr. He would when they had Derek Carr, they were good.
By the way, some breaking news in NFL. Broncos quarterback Paxton Lynch is out this week, and Trevor Siemian will get the start.
Wow. Did you see he was crying on the sideline yesterday?
I mean, I would too. And then after that, ACC matchup, 8 p.m. on ABC, Clemson, Miami, the U taking on the defending national champions. And also at 8 o'clock, Ohio State versus Wisconsin in Indianapolis.
Both of those games are going to be fun.
So now, Brooks, as we end the show, you want to end with what we are now deeming, what again?
Well, I mean, last year we were made aware that there's such thing as the champions of life in college football, and obviously Butch Jones made sure that we all knew that Tennessee had been named champions of life last year. So I think since he is no longer with us, and he's no longer with us to inform us who the champion of life is this year, I think it's upon us. We take it upon ourselves to nominate some teams for champions of life.
Okay.
Do you have any nominees? 'Cause I've got 2.
So the nominee for champion of life, they had to be like
projected to do pretty well, and then just not be. Just be bad.
The 2 off the top of my head is Florida State and Florida.
I like the Florida State's one of my nominees. The only thing that I would not say they were is because their quarterback got hurt.
Yeah.
That's the only problem, is they were going to be good if DeAndre Francois had remained well. Now, Tennessee last year, there was no major injuries on that team, and they ran into the ground.
Yeah, bottom just fell out.
Now, my nominee is the team that was ranked top 15 in the preseason poll, and they finished not ranked. I believe they're not ranked. The Louisville Cardinals.
No.
They didn't have any major injuries that I'm aware of. They still had the Heisman Trophy winner, Lamar Jackson, and they were not good this year.
Champions of life.
I think we should nominate the Louisville Cardinals as the 2017 college football champions of life.
All in favor say aye? Aye.
I already said aye.
That does
There's
it right
no
there.
opposing. I don't see anyone opposing.
Yeah, exactly. So
that means we have to make a graphic now. We have to make Louisville champions of life.
So no matter who wins the college football playoff, Louisville is the champions of life.
Congratulations. We'll send them a plaque.
We'll send them a plaque? We should.
We should mail it to them.
We'll just draw it on paper.
Congratulations, you're the champions of life.
Now, that being said, as we have about a minute 50 left, we did talk about doing a big 64-team bracket for college football. And we are going to do that. We're going to wait till after the conference championship games.
After the final rankings come out.
So there will be a special show about that. So you will get that. And you can still always catch us Mondays at 1 here on WGL 91.1 FM. Or if you're watching Eagle Eye TV Channel 6 at noon on eagleeyeauburn.com, or just flip on Channel 6 on campus and you can see our pretty little faces.
Mine's gorgeous.
And with that being said, that will do it for the show today. We didn't get to the JT Barrett stuff, but apparently cameraman came and took out his leg and did a whole cover-up, stuff like that. But yeah.
You need the X-Files music.
I don't have it. But
Jerry, one last note before we get off the air.
Yes.
Did you know that Alabama lost?
Yes, I know Alabama lost. But that will do it for the show. Thank you guys for listening. Same time, same place next week. We'll see you then.
War Eagle, everybody.